Bron Breakker just crossed a line no one saw coming, and the mystery attacker has finally been revealed. What happened on Smackdown will change everything. What's up, Suplex Rumble family? If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because we break down the biggest moments in wrestling, and trust me, you do not want to miss what went down this week. Let's get into it. Alright, let's set the stage. For weeks now, the WWE Universe has been on the edge of their seats wondering who has been targeting Bron Breakker. We've seen mysterious attacks, backstage assaults, and cryptic messages that had everyone from fans to superstars themselves playing detective on social media. Bron Breakker, the second-generation powerhouse, the man who's been destroying everyone in his path, suddenly found himself looking over his shoulder. And for a guy who prides himself on being the most dominant force in WWE, that had to be eating at him. But here's where things get really interesting. The attacks weren't just physical, they were psychological. Whoever was behind this knew exactly how to get under Breakker's skin. They knew his schedule, his patterns, his vulnerabilities. This wasn't just some random rivalry, this was personal. Social media went absolutely insane with theories. Was it a returning legend? A disgruntled former tag team partner? Someone from NXT seeking revenge? The speculation was through the roof, and WWE did an incredible job keeping us all guessing. Now, let's talk about the moment that took this storyline to a completely different level, the Paralysis angle. And folks, whether you loved it or hated it, you cannot deny it got people talking. 2 weeks ago on Smackdown, Bron Breakker was involved in a brutal confrontation that ended with medical personnel rushing to the ring. The announcers sold it like their lives depended on it, and suddenly we're hearing words like spinal injury, medical facility, and the one that sent chills down everyone's spine, temporary paralysis. The WWE Universe was split down the middle on this one. Some fans praised the storytelling and the emotional investment it created. Others felt it crossed a line, especially given the real-life serious nature of such injuries in professional wrestling. And you know what? Both perspectives are completely valid. What we saw on social media was an explosion of reactions. Hashtags were trending worldwide. Wrestling podcasts dedicated entire episodes to discussing it. Even mainstream sports outlets picked up the story. Love it or hate it, WWE had everyone talking about Bron Breakker and Smackdown. But here's what made this angle so effective from a storytelling perspective: it gave Breakker a reason to come back with pure rage. When you take a dominant force like him and make him vulnerable, make him feel helpless, you're creating a powder keg of emotions ready to explode. And that brings us to this week's Smackdown, where everything came to a head. The mystery man was finally revealed, and the WWE Universe collectively lost their minds. Picture this: Bron Breakker makes his return to Smackdown, and you can see it in his eyes. This man is on a mission. He grabs a microphone, and the arena is absolutely electric. You could hear a pin drop as Breakker demands that his attacker show himself right now. The lights flicker, classic WWE drama, and we're all here for it, and then the music hits. The mystery man makes his entrance, and the reveal is everything. Now, without showing any copyrighted footage, let me paint you a picture of how this unfolded. The mysterious attacker walks down that ramp with purpose. This isn't someone coming out nervous or uncertain, this is someone who's been planning this moment. The crowd is going absolutely bananas, with reactions ranging from complete shock to "I knew it" from the fans who called it on social media. What makes this reveal so brilliant is the history between these two competitors. This wasn't just pulled out of thin air, there's a legitimate backstory here that makes this feud make perfect sense. Whether it's from their time in developmental, previous encounters, or family connections in the wrestling business, the pieces fit together like a puzzle. The promo that followed was intense. Both men laying out exactly why this rivalry exists, airing grievances, and making it crystal clear that this is far from over. The verbal jabs, the physical tension, the crowd eating up every single second. This is what wrestling storytelling is all about. But you know, it couldn't just end with talking. This is Bron Breakker. We're talking about a human wrecking ball who was just told he might never walk again. The man had weeks of frustration built up, and it was about to come pouring out. The tension in the arena was thick. You could feel it through the screen. Security personnel started surrounding the ring, officials were trying to keep things under control, but everyone knew what was about to happen. And then boom, Breakker snaps. He launches himself at the mystery man with the intensity of a freight train. We're talking pure, unbridled aggression. This wasn't a wrestling match, this was a fight. This was personal, this was visceral, this was everything we wanted to see. The two superstars are trading shots, neither man backing down an inch. Officials are trying to separate them, but it's like trying to stop a hurricane. Security gets involved, and even they're struggling to contain these two absolute warriors. What I absolutely loved about this segment was the raw emotion. You believed every single punch, every takedown, every moment of chaos. This is what happens when you give talented performers a story they can sink their teeth into and just let them go. The attack spills to the outside, then back into the ring, then up the ramp. It's everywhere. The announcers are losing their minds, the crowd is chanting, and you can barely keep track of where these two competitors are because they're just brawling all over the arena. Finally, and I mean finally, after what feels like an eternity, enough security and officials manage to separate them. But the damage is done. Both men are screaming at each other, trying to break free and get back into the fight. The message is clear: this rivalry is going to be brutal, it's going to be physical, and it's going to be unmissable. Okay, let's take a breath and break down what this all means for the future of SmackDown and for both of these incredible competitors. First off, this feud has mega potential. You've got two of the most physically gifted athletes in WWE today with a personal grudge and a story that fans are already heavily invested in. This checks all the boxes for a marquee feud. The Paralysis angle, controversial as it was, has given this rivalry stakes. When Breaker eventually gets his hands on his rival in a sanctioned match, the payoff is going to feel massive because we've been taken on this emotional journey with him. Now, where do they go from here? Well, if WWE booking follows typical patterns, and let's be honest, they love to build these things properly, we're probably looking at a series of matches. Maybe we start with a standard one-on-one to establish dominance, then escalate to something more extreme. I'm talking potential street fight, falls count anywhere, maybe even a steel cage match to contain the absolute chaos these two are capable of creating. The possibilities are endless, and every single option sounds absolutely incredible. For Bron Breakker, this is his chance to show a different dimension to his character. We've seen the dominance, we've seen the athleticism, but now we're seeing the fire, the vulnerability turned into rage, and the storytelling ability. This could be the feud that takes him to the next level as a complete performer. And for the mystery attacker, this is a career-defining opportunity. Going toe-to-toe with one of WWE's most promising stars in a high-profile storyline with this much heat? That's the kind of moment that can make a superstar. What did you think of the big reveal and the absolute chaos that followed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love hearing from the Suplex Rumble family. If you enjoyed this breakdown, show some love with a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss our coverage of the biggest moments in wrestling.